Um, Welcome. If you like this content, if you want to see more of it, I implore you to hit the like button down there, the subscribe button, get your notifications going if you're into that, and possibly hit up the Patreon and become a contributing member to make all of this possible. Hello and welcome to Comfortable Lives. Me again. Today I was really just going to talk about voting in general, but considering the shit show we went through in the last week, I figured I can't not spotlight that. The 2020 presidential election. So, where do I begin? The two-party shit show. In my memory, this would be the longest count that had ever happened. Things that indicates to me is that there's a high likelihood that voter fraud was part of the election process. I am not saying this definitively. I'm not saying I have some sort of proof. I'm not saying the proof that I've been exposed to is irrefutably true. The vector for fraud is specifically highlighted with the length of time it takes to count the votes. There is a higher risk. In this election, the two candidates that were considered the only choice out of the 1,022 candidates that were declared candidates for the presidency, one of which, aside those two, was on the ballot for all 50 states, are effectively the same candidate. The superficial differences between them really amount to nothing whatsoever. The CNN report claiming that Cheney is going to be a foreign advisor for Biden only solidifies the lack of change that is actually going to happen. That's further highlighted by the report that arms dealers really were not concerned about who was or was not going to be president in the coming term. Furthermore, the concern that with his advanced age, that Biden probably was not going to sit out his entire term, leaving his vice president to take the presidential seat, and the horrific train wreck that she is with her judicial record as a district attorney and as a former police officer. One thing that nobody seems to want to address, and it is addressed every year circa the end of June, is the use of tokenism by political parties. It's not so prevalent in the Republican Party as it is in the Democrat Party. The causes that are highlighted throughout an election cycle are completely dropped once that election cycle is over. The thought process is that our people are in power and they will fix the problem is a disease of the mind, because it has never happened in the past, and it is not very likely to happen in the coming 4 years with a political participant that has been part of the government for 50 years and a willing advocate for his policies back in the 1990s. Moreover, as we saw in the presidency between 2008 and 2016, the media will not be harping on the egregious behavior of a Biden presidency because it's not politically expedient to media companies. I don't know if you can recall, but President Obama was not the white shining knight that the media makes him out to be. He started more conflicts and presided over the one time that a Nobel Peace Prize winner had bombed another Nobel Peace Prize winner. In the wake of the election, the uptick in petty bullshit was remarkable, to say the least. We can see, just browsing social media, people hard at work at projecting literally the worst of themselves and how they're treating their fellow man. I kind of expect it from the Republican Party. They kind of live on this whole fuck your feelings, we're going to do our thing and we're going to make you feel like shit about it bullshit. But if you're going to sit there and say that, no, our candidates are compassionate and love each other, and then start calling people names, treating them like shit, laughing at their misery, you come off as disingenuous and as hypocritical. Going turnabout as fair play is not an excuse. You're sitting there asking for compassion, asking for understanding in all forms of issues, but the minute your political opponent is the one that's on the ropes, why is that compassion then out the window?
Are you experiencing electile dysfunction? Has your election been going on for more than 4 days? Speak to your local anarchist to see about possible treatments for electile dysfunction.
Now, I would like to get on to the subject matter of this comfortable lies. Now that I've talked about the election and gotten that out of the way. What many people don't seem to understand is voting as an action is violence in the United States of America. When you vote, you are selecting who gets to choose where the gun of the state goes. And even when you're wrong and you didn't choose the right guy that won or the right girl that won, it doesn't matter. You're still responsible for participating in a violent act. The easiest way to think of it is you and a group of people are deciding who you're going to shoot. There's no justification for it. None of you individually have the right to shoot the person. So no matter how many people are in your group, you don't have the right to shoot that person. So when the state acts in violence on your behalf because you participate in the state, you too are guilty of that violence. And even when they act on that violence on your behalf, despite the fact that you didn't choose that particular actor, you are still partially guilty. The reason why people like voting is it gives them the illusion of having no responsibility. But in reality, you are accepting responsibility for all of the good and bad things that those elected officials do. The only way to get out of that culpability is to abstain. Abstention from voting is saying that you do not agree with state violence and you do not wish to direct state violence on your behalf. The reaction to abstention from voting is alarming, to say the least, since most officials abstain from votes that they don't wish to be part of in Congress. And I think that that's an important double standard that people don't seem to want to accept. I'd like to suggest that abstention from voting and divesting yourself from the political factions of government is the only way to a prosperous and peaceful living. No matter what you think, the only clear winner of an election is the government. Never in the history of United States politics has a president been able to deliver on any of his claims. If a president were honest, he would tell everybody, I'm going to kill a lot of people and I'm going to pass laws that are going to lock innocent people up in jail, and we're going to use them for prison labor, and we're going to blow up people in third world countries because business interests that have financial control of the government want that. That's what an honest political campaign would look like. And in that sense, that would be the only time you would hear any honesty coming out of a politician's mouth. Single-handedly, the most dangerous thing to freedom in the United States of America is the United States of America's voters. Long past the days where people understood that the Constitution was not telling people what they're allowed to do, but telling the government what it's not allowed to do. Long past are the days that the people of America understood that they themselves were free, and that all that the government could possibly do is infringe on those rights that make them free. In the end, we should never be looking at what power we need to give the government that the government will potentially give us back someday, because there has never been a case where the government has rolled back its power. We're going on 20 years from 9/11, and the Patriot Act is still going strong, yet proved to be completely ineffective. The Department of Homeland Security has caught absolutely zero terrorists, and we have done nothing but give up our freedoms. It used to alarm me how few people actually wanted to be free. At this point, when I see someone that advocates for the At this point, when I see someone who advocates for the disenfranchisement of the government and embraces actual freedom, I meet it with skepticism. Oh, fuck you. At this point, when I see someone who advocates for the disenfranchisement from government and actual freedom for individuals, I meet it with a lot of skepticism, because usually it's a front for a different variety of authoritarian regime, one more to their liking. I doubt at any point in time during my lifetime I will see the people actually want to take responsibility for themselves and their actions. I used to have hope, but that's long gone. So your comfortable lie. You're voting, it makes a difference. Voting is important, and it's your duty. That's what the media tells you. That's what the government wants you to think. But voting just makes you complicit in the evil that the government is. This has been Comfortable Lies.